The Class 483 is the newest model of S-Bahn train in Berlin, and it is my favorite train in the world. Why? Let me explain. The Class 483 is the latest in a line of distinctive trains that are used on the Berlin S-Bahn. Perhaps most notably, the very unusual looking Class 480. Now, it's a great train for so many reasons, but I think seeing it on a railway network like SEPTA or the Long Island Railroad, well, that would be truly amazing, which is why I'm kind of making this video. This is the train I would like to see in a lot more places. In fact, for regional services across the Americas, so Latin America as well, in places like Brazil and perhaps Mexico, as well as obviously all of North America and probably parts of Australia as well. Melbourne, not sure how much of a fan I am of your latest trains. I think something like this would be perfect. Now, the design of this train is awesome. It has tons of straight lines, but it doesn't feel dated. It's got an angular look that sort of reminds me of the Tangara trains from Sydney, but on the whole, it feels much less dated, especially when you look beyond just the face. It's also somewhat unique because unlike a lot of regional train designs out there, and good regional train designs out there, like the E235 used on the Yamanote line, I know I bring it up all the time, it is a great line, the Class 483 operates on bottom contact third rail. If you don't know what bottom contact third rail is, video up here for you. Which again really makes me think of the Long Island Railroad and Metro North, whose current trains are new. Now, to be clear, because people think I kind of hate a lot of these American train designs, I still think they're better than, say, the GO trains, but when the gap is smaller, my frustration actually becomes larger because they're so close to having a fantastic design, whereas, say, the GO trains, they have a long way to go and it's going to be a while. Now, perhaps what makes the angular design of the train even more interesting is the front sort of window fascia panel. It's totally squared, but it's also totally flat, contrasting with that angled front, and it just looks so good. The headlights, which are these horizontal lines, are also super striking, and I think good headlights are one of the kind of key elements of a great train design. Of course, it also has the iconic cream and red Berlin S-Bahn livery, which is up there with the London Underground's red, white, and blue livery as one of the best in the world. It's just so classic, and the colors work so well together. Now, the trains were built by Stadler along with Siemens, and if you've followed the transit space for any period of time, you'll know that Siemens is probably the most reliable of the big rail manufacturers, while Stadler is known for being excellent, but also very expensive and quite boutique. Some people have suggested I do like a ranking rolling stock manufacturers video, so let me know if you'd like that in the comments down below. Anyways, the fact that Stadler's involved probably elevated the design quite a bit. Suffice to say, I expect these trains to be really high quality and to last a long time, which is important because a well-made train can literally last decades and decades and decades and decades and decades. Another feature on these trains that you don't see, especially in North America too often, except for some Siemens-made trains, which these happen to be, are the window prints, which help both deter graffiti, but also make the section of the train that's dedicated to bikes, as well as accessibility, more visible. Both of these uses are accommodated in these fantastically large flex areas, which have flip-up seats on both sides of the train, creating a massive space that can also help to flex to carry tons of people if you have, say, a sports event letting people out. Outside of the flex area, you have transverse seating. I know, but the Berlin U-Bahn has all of the longitudinal seating, which I have mentioned I like a lot. Now, the seating isn't excessive like you see on, for example, the GO trains, but it's nice, simple, and comfortable. And it works for the type of trips that people make on the S-Bahn. Now, I should say, how do you feel about me doing more rolling stock and bus reviews? Let me know in the comments down below. I think it's a great opportunity to talk about one of the underappreciated elements of transit systems, which is just making the rolling stock good for passengers. It's not the only problem that transit systems face. In fact, it's not even close to the largest one, but it's one of those niche details that I think a channel like mine has the opportunity to really go into detail on. Of course, it wouldn't be a great train design without some nice screens inside the train to give passengers information, especially if you're going to completely lose it because you took a short nap and now you're not sure if you've missed your station. Now, in this area, the train uses the same layout as the Sydney Metro trains, which is LED dot screens facing forward and backwards and LCD screens on the side of the train. I think this is actually a really good configuration because the LED dot screens tend to be really easy to view from a distance, whereas the LCD screens, well, you typically want to view them a bit closer up, they tend to be more information dense, and so the layout, it works really well. Even better, the trains lack one of the most infuriating features of modern trains, which is totally opaque ends or kind of reverse mirrors, anything like that. Basically, there is the ability for you to stand at the end of the train and look at the cab and look through to the tracks. I think the opaque ends are a really bad trend. I think many a transit enthusiast and transit planner and transit advocate were created because of railfan windows. I know I certainly was. Another nice feature of these trains are the well-placed door open buttons on the outside of the train, something that in Toronto, despite our very cold weather, we still haven't really figured out how to use. Such buttons are really good, and they're something we need to add to more trains in the future because they help with energy efficiency. If no one needs to use a door, the door doesn't need to open, and the hot or cold air inside the train doesn't need to be let out. It also just improves the passenger experience because a cold gust doesn't have to ruin your morning commute if it's cold out. Better yet though, the train doors are designed to help people with visual impairments. They're really contrasty with the body of the train, and so it's easier for people to see where the door is relative to the rest of the train, which is a really thoughtful design feature. I also like the almost full height windows on the doors, which again just let more light into the train and give you better visibility, which is great on a network that is almost entirely above ground like the Berlin S-Bahn. And yes, there will be an Explained coming on Berlin, which will include the S-Bahn, stay tuned. Now, if there's one feature of these trains I'm not a fan of, it's the fact that they're not full-length articulated units. They come in both married pairs, which are when you have two cars together that have cabs at both ends, and 4-car sets. But a lot of Berlin S-Bahn trains are longer than that. So what would be great to see is just full-length trains. Yes, it would be a little less flexible, but it would let you walk the full distance of the train and give you a bit more capacity, which I think would be nice. So that's my favorite train in the world, for now. If you want to create a better train, then that could change, because this is a brand new train. It just rolled out into service this last year, so there's always the potential that this changes in the future. It has a lot of character, and yet it's super practical. It's not perfect, but neither am I. Let me know in the comments down below what your favorite regional train is. Thanks for watching.